Okay.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the September 9th Board of Health meeting. I'm just convening for the first time after the summer. And looks like we have a few things to discuss. So we're going to get moving. Hello, everybody. Nice to see everybody here. Welcome back. First order of business is always to review minutes from our last meeting, which was June 10th. I take it all my colleagues have reviewed their minutes, the minutes that we have. Does anybody have anything to correct, add, change?
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented.
Okay, second? Second, okay. The minutes will be accepted as written. They are seconded, and we shall move on. Thank you. Thank you, John. Okay, second order of business, Win Waste, Innovations, Operational. Welcome, thank you.
How's it going, Elliot?
Good. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Feels a little bit like back at school.
I know.
Back after that summer
Trying to get the roll. I'm like, what am I doing? Nice to see you.
Nice to see everybody too. So, good evening, Madam Chair, Director Froelich, and the rest of the board. I'd like to provide the update since the last Board of Health meeting back on June 10th. So since our last meeting, the facility operated at approximately 95% boiler availability, processed just over 109,000 tons, generated just over 59,000 megawatts. We had 5 unscheduled downtime events totaling 69 hours, 2 scheduled maintenance events totaling 146 hours, and last night into this morning we started a scheduled maintenance event. We're anticipating that to run about 120 hours. Since the last Board of Health meeting, the facility has shipped just under 13,000 tons of ash to the Win Waste Shrewsbury landfill. Couple notable events since the last meeting. On June 14th, we had a microburst of wind cross directly over the monofill, causing several large perimeter trees to topple. The landfill operator notified site management that approximately a dozen of the large poplar trees were downed. The trees are located outside the geomembrane cap limit. Due to the size of the trees, the facility will be working with a tree removal company to cut and chip the trees where they fell. The root balls will be taken off site for disposal, and the holes will be filled in with suitable material. If there's any need for equipment to access capped areas, precautions will be taken to ensure there is no damage done to the cap. At the suggestion of Rick Spieler and Saugus Conservation Commission, the Saugus Conservation Commission was notified as the trees are close to the wetland areas. On June 19th, I notified the board that we took the turbine offline to make necessary repairs. The drag valve and silencer worked as designed, coming offline and coming back online, and no noise issues to report. On June 20th, Saugus Fire Department was on site for a false alarm. The control room could not silence that. Saugus Fire Department responded to ensure there were no issues on site, and they left site shortly thereafter. On August 30th, at approximately 5:10 in the morning, the tipping 4 operator identified a compactor can with a hot spot on the side. I notified the board of this one as well. The operator alerted the driver of the hot load, instructed the driver to leave the building and go to the truck turnaround area. Facility management was notified. Saugus Fire Department was contacted to assist with safe disposal of the hot load. The compactor was sprayed with water, and under the direction of Saugus Fire Department, the material was dumped on the tipping floor for immediate disposal. The hot load procedure was followed, and Saugus Fire Department left site approximately after an hour being on site with no further issues. Last Tuesday, September 3rd, at approximately 0800, we unfortunately had an employee at the facility injure his finger and required emergency services. An ambulance and Saugus Fire Department were called to site. The employee was taken by ambulance off site for further medical evaluation. No interruptions to the operation of the facility, and that employee is due back to work on Monday. Facility did not have any excess emission events or radioactive loads since the last Board of Health meeting. And a couple brief updates on some community initiatives that we've been involved in recently. Last week, few of the members here. Helped support with the Boys and Girls Club to sponsor a back-to-school celebration. Had about 300 Saugus students and families in attendance. Were handed out backpacks, school supplies, pizza. There was a bouncy house, inflatable corn maze, and some other activities. And we're looking forward to continuing to work with the Boys and Girls Club and some other organizations that help provide these valuable resources for Saugus families. In August, continued our partnership with the Saugus Senior Center by sponsoring their annual luau. Good time was had by all. And then again, coming up, we have our booth at Founders Day and look forward to seeing everyone there on the 14th.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that report. A lot
Yeah.
went on the past couple of months. I know my colleague has a few questions, as always, for you.
Yeah, we received quite a few documents over the past few months, so had some questions. Some things just need answers more than anything else. On August 12th, we received a letter from DEP, extension of existing lube oil cooler platforms, conditional approval.
Yep.
I have no idea what that is. Could you
Yeah,
explain it to us?
I can elaborate a little bit. So the turbine, we have basically a lube oil sump or a tank and multiple pumps, and they pump and provide the lubricating oil that's needed for the journal bearings and thrust bearings. It's cooled. That oil goes through a shell and tube type heat exchanger and is cooled with as part of the aux cooling system, which is fed from the river water. So periodically we have to clean it, and the way that it had been being done, we have monthly safety committee meetings with all the employees, and so we obviously encourage them to bring forth ideas. And one idea that came about was extending the platform up and around so you could be closer and it was more ergonomically friendly to be able to perform the task. So basically, it's just a safety improvement, extending the platform out further so that way you're right there, positioned better.
Great. Yeah, I was looking at the conditions, and DEP was very specific, shall ensure persons conducting activity, be familiar with the provisions and everything else. So I was just concerned that it sounded like it was something. Yeah, thank you. Stat testing, ash sampling results. I'm just curious as to why is the testing done during the stat testing? Is it fly ash that's being tested at this point? Or is it ash?
The ash is sampled during stat testing because it's done in conjunction with dioxin testing.
Oh, okay.
So the air emissions testing, they'll collect ash in conjunction with that and send it to SGS laboratories for dioxin analysis.
Okay, because my understanding is ash is fly ash and bottom ash, and,
Correct.
okay,
But they'll collect it separately.
okay, and they do,
We have the ability to collect it separately, but when we do our collection, like the report you're referencing, that's combined ash.
that's combined ash,
Correct.
and that's the TCLP test of that.
Correct.
Okay. I meant to ask you this, but I'll ask Elliot.
Right from the horse's
So, we got a report from Tech Environmental, and I was a little confused because it talked about, well, first of all, it talked about overgrowth of vegetation on the landfill, and it was supposed to be mowed around August 19th. Was that the case? Was it?
The third-party contractor hasn't mowed the monofil yet.
Okay. Is it scheduled to be done?
It's scheduled, I don't have the date, but there is a contractor that's going to be, they have specialized equipment that can mow slopes, and
Mhm.
they'll be on site, and I guess it takes roughly 2 days and they'll have the entire monofil complete.
Yeah, I'm just concerned because it was a concern of the
Okay.
inspector, and
We can follow up with the date when we talk to Roach tomorrow and follow up.
yeah, the second thing on this, it's, he says in the report, the Valley Fill project is anticipated to recommence early 2025. Now, it was my understanding that that was ongoing, and maybe I'm wrong, the valley fill was being done, and continuously it had stopped, and the shipment of the ash was just to reduce the amount going into the valley. Am I wrong there, or
So
Joe
the
does
Valley
better.
Fill project is
is it
done in
different?
phases. So
Oh.
phase 1 and 2 are complete, and that essentially was taking one side up and then the next side up. And then we're
Okay.
moving on to the next valley where there's 3 fingers up there, and that's all part of the over-encompassing Valley Fill project.
Okay.
So it goes in
So
construction
one was
phases.
complete, and it's gonna
Two.
recommit, the next,
Phase 1 and 2 are complete.
okay. So this
Makes sense.
starts the, okay,
Phase 3.
okay.
So phase 3 is gonna start early 2025.
Correct.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. Last thing I have is the semi-annual compliance report. The last one we got, I commented on the,
ASME.
on the certified operator coverage, and really, it seemed like it was it didn't seem to me like the way the permit was written and the way the language was in there, wasn't meant to have like 76 12-hour shifts to be uncovered by certified operators or shift supervisors, okay? And we, like I said, there was 76, now they're down to 15.
Yeah,
I
and-
think that's a substantial improvement. But, you know, I just like an update on coverage. Is it, you planning on reducing it even more? Because I just think that a facility like this should have a certified operator or a supervisor on duty all the time. And so the other questions I have is, how many provisional certified operators do you have that cover provisionally? And those 15, were they definitely covered by provisional operators?
I'd have to look at the dates, but an update on that 3 weeks ago now, I think it was, second week of August, the week of the 12th, I believe it was. The ASME was on site, performed the site-specific testing. So we had 5 individuals that took the exam, got the site-specific certification, and 1 individual that took the chief facility operator and passed that. So everybody that had their provisional was waiting to test, performed the exam, and passed. So yeah, the goal is to continue to knock that number down. Hopefully get to 0 is obviously the goal.
Okay, great. Great. Oh, just one last question. When you mentioned the turbine was down, what was the reason for that?
So that was also part of the lube oil cooler. We had a tube failure on the lube oil cooler, so we had to shut down to make the repairs.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great job with the certification.
Yeah, I know.
It's a simple question, I just don't know the answer. You were talking about, what are hotspots?
Oh,
So the can came onto the tipping floor and literally had like a black burn mark on the side. The driver wasn't aware of it at the time. Our tipping floor operator pointed it out to him, so that's when he said, "Let's get this out of here." And then that's
So it's
when
fire.
fire or something smoldering or burning inside the actual can itself.
Generally. it's
And
the
can is a
lithium battery.
compactor, right?
Battery?
Compactor can, yeah, exactly. Not open top or anything like that. So that's why sometimes, depending on what it is, it's hard for them to see or notice.
They just dumped it.
Water puts it out.
yeah, the pictures were good. You sent around all
Yeah.
the pictures
Yeah, very,
to
very, very
me.
detailed report on that.
And I
That's great.
thought they really were
Yeah.
very descriptive and showed exactly what was going on. Because when you worded the email, it sounded a lot worse
Yeah.
than when we saw the pictures. The pictures, it was definitely, a lot better than, I'm like, a can. And then I saw what it was, so it was much better, so thank you. I will say that we're being, the communication, the quick communication via the texts is working out very well.
Good.
Very, very well. Certainly, we appreciate all of that. certainly doing the certification classes is huge. And always we appreciate all the community work that you guys do. I think all in all, we can all say that, I don't mean to speak for all of the board, but I do think that the relationship continues to be going in the right direction, and we do appreciate the ongoing communication and working really well together. I think that this is going in a really positive direction. We appreciate it.
Who was on that texting chain?
So myself, Maria, and then members of the Wood Waste.
Okay.
What would we call it, public relations.
If you want me to,
Pete and
Yeah.
Joe.
let you
We can
know
add more if we
something.
want.
Yeah, so I would say probably a good idea if we just got everybody on the board on that
We
text.
can definitely, could we do that?
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
add them.
No
No
problem.
reason not to.
Yeah,
right?
I'll ask John to
Yeah,
add,
I'll grab everybody's cell phone.
and we'll put
jump
that
at
on
it.
that chain, just because I know a lot of my colleagues will get, you
Yeah,
know,
questions.
people in
and-
their districts to say, you know,
Yeah, we
what's
get
going on.
inundated with calls. and-
Yeah, and sometimes they get calls or emails, so that
No
would be
problem.
helpful too, because if I'm not around, or,
Actually, a great idea.
yeah, I think that's, yeah, we hadn't
Probably should've
really
done it sooner.
thought about that before, so thanks.
Thank
All
you.
right,
Sounds good.
very
Thank you.
good.
Thank you, Willie.
All right. So, the next order of business is the tobacco suspension hearing. Is she here?
So this, I would just like to
Can we-
take, yeah,
yeah.
so this whole, this portion of the meeting, I would just like to bring about that we did have 2 violators on the most recent round of compliance checks.
Okay.
And I would like to take this time to make sure that we set a meeting, a hearing in advance, so we
Okay.
can notify the parties properly.
Perfect.
So my recommendations would be to have a public hearing for the suspensions on the 9th of October, which would be our next
Next
scheduled
meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
But we did have 2 violators, Blue Moon Smoke Shop and Super Petroleum.
Say that one more time, who they were?
Blue Moon Smoke Shop and Super Petroleum.
Okay,
So Blue Moon's down in Cliftondale Square, and then
Yes.
Super Petroleum is on Route 1.
okay. All right, and they've been aware, they're
So
aware of
they've
their,
been notified of the violation.
Violation, okay.
Blue Moon has paid their $2,000 fine. We're
Okay.
still waiting for Super Petroleum to respond, but we have received both certified mail tickets back, so
Okay.
they do have the notices.
All
Madam
right.
Chair, do we need a motion for that?
John, the next meeting is the 7th.
The 7th,
Seventh?
not the 9th?
Seventh.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Lisa.
I think we can just add that to the agenda without a motion.
Sure, and
Yeah.
I'll notify them both,
Sure.
so we'll give them a good amount of time just to
Yep,
let them know.
yep. I think agenda items we can just add.
Okay.
No, I think that's fine. I'm glad we're still keeping on top of
Oh,
that.
absolutely. That's
Yeah.
Joyce has been great, so, I mean,
Yeah.
she's
Oh,
she's
yeah,
done a
she's
very good
wonderful.
resource,
Yeah. Perfect, okay. So, the arbovirus update.
So, I just wanted to take a moment tonight just to talk a little bit about the current state of West Nile virus and Triple E in the state of Massachusetts and the town of Saugus. So Lower Essex County has been raised to a high risk level as of last week due to a couple of cases in Middlesex County that were received, well, Middlesex County and in Suffolk County. And just kind of the whole greater Boston area has been kind of raised to a more significant risk level until the end of the arbovirus season. Typically mid to late October is what we're going to be looking at as far as the first hard
Hard
frost
frost,
that
yeah.
we're looking for, which is classified as 2 nights of 28 or below or 3 nights of 32 or below. So that's what we're going to be looking for. Once you see some frost on the ground and you see your breath in the morning, that's when you know it's going to start.
Yeah.
The risk levels will probably start coming down. But again, I just wanted to touch quickly on what some of the things that have been going on in the town as well as the state. So there's been 7 cases of West Nile virus in the state of Massachusetts, none in the town of Saugus to date. There's been 4 human cases, most recently this afternoon, actually, in Middlesex County of Triple E. So, it is going to be an ongoing risk. I think at this point, everybody, has heard the rhetoric as far as the type types of precautions that everybody needs to take as far as wearing bug spray and limiting your dusk activities and wearing long pants and long sleeves and, physical protections, making sure that there's no standing water on your properties, and making sure that, your screens are all intact at your homes. Again, it's something that we're really trying to make sure folks are aware of, just because, it is going to be an ongoing thing until the end of the season. So, we have reached peak season, so it's something that we're going to be seeing a lot more activity over the next couple of weeks. The Northeast Massachusetts Mosquito Control Board has been conducting residential treatments per request via our town website and their resident request site. They've been using an ultra-low volume aerosol sprayer, the classic, white truck that you see out there for adulticiding efforts, basically like knocking down the live ones that are in the area, as well as conducting larvicide treatments for our catch basins, for the salt marsh. So a number of precautions have been taken by the Department of Agriculture in the state in order to keep us, more prepared for the rest of the season. So I just want to touch base on what was going on and just kind of implore everybody just to maintain vigilance while we're, getting into October. I know that, as the temperatures drop, everybody kind of, starts, getting outside a little bit more, just from the standpoint of, okay, well, it's nice, it's fall, leaves are changing, that kind of thing. But we just want to make sure that everybody's staying vigilant while we're getting into the end of the season. So I just wanted to touch base on that really.
No, I appreciate that, John. And once we get to the high, we're never gonna go back.
Nope.
So, I don't want everybody getting, freaked out that we're staying high. It doesn't mean necessarily that we have more mosquitoes that are testing positive. It means that we have reached the threshold of high. And once your city or town reaches that threshold, we're gonna stay there. So there's no turning back.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, Madam Chair, just because we're still in a remote region of the state for EEE from a risk level standpoint.
Human risk, yeah.
Yeah, so there's been 91 positive samples for EEE this year as far as mosquito sampling results. 307 mosquito samples for West Nile, and we're getting a similar, the ones that are being tested in Saugus that are coming back positive have both been mammal and bird biting mosquitoes, but the two have been, it's just been those two types of mosquitoes. Culex pippins and Culex salinaris have been the two main species of mosquito that we're seeing in Saugus. So, but again, as far as, obviously we're talking about a mosquito, so something in Plymouth County could have flown up here, something in Worcester County could have flown over here within the last couple of days. So, it's not something that, we take, as gospel, whenever there's a positive sample, because it could have come from anywhere, but, lucky us, right? So, like I said, I just wanted to touch base on that as we move forward into the
And it's interesting that it's the whole county, and then some of the towns are still at medium, but they just, if you get one, or whatever the ratio is.
And that's how it ends up working.
Right, it is what it is. So, but I think that what
Sure.
you touched upon was the most important, that we have to be vigilant ourselves with protecting ourselves. If your
Correct.
kids are, doing the sports after school, they need to use the bug spray before they go out and, protect themselves and protect you if you're gonna be spectator, so that you don't get bitten.
And the state has taken precautions as far as that is concerned, as far as barrier treatments around
Yeah.
some of the larger, areas of town property. So, they've been very, very good about making sure that they're helping us out from a treatment
Yep.
standpoint.
Yep.
So, yeah, like I said, that's just something that we're, again, imploring residents to. If, for the next couple of weeks, I believe that the treatments are going to be every Thursday, so just to plug the Northeast Mosquito Control Board, if you visit their website as a resident, you can request a treatment outside your home. It's an adulticide treatment. It happens on Thursdays after dusk, after the sun goes down. You are eligible to register between Sunday and Wednesday at 3:30 for a cutoff for a Thursday treatment. So please visit our website. We have all of the linked information on our main press release on the main page. So by all means, over the next couple of weeks, take advantage of the treatments. They are free, so just get on the list and if you're interested in a treatment.
Great, thank you, John.
Thank you for your leadership on this.
Yeah, I know everybody's, wants to hear, and it's
Well,
important information.
Absolutely, oh, definitely. We want to make sure everybody knows what's going on.
Thank you, Dawn. Next order of business is Public Health Nurses Report. Good evening, Teresa.
So just to piggyback, hi everyone. Just to piggyback on what John said about that, I want to maybe talk about a little bit of the signs and symptoms of West Nile and Triple E, so people kind of understand. Also to let people know, as John said, 7 cases we've seen in West Nile. Last year we saw 6, so we're not too far off from last year. 80% of people who contract West Nile virus are asymptomatic, so that is pretty significant to know. Triple E is a little bit different. 1/3 of the people who do come down with Triple E, it is fatal, and then another third of them have long-lasting neurological effects. But as far as West Nile, most likely, most of us in this room right now have had West Nile, because 80% of people are asymptomatic. If you do have symptoms of West Nile, it's fever, it's body aches, nausea, vomiting, sore throat, typical virus. And then it just moves on, right? Triple E is a little bit, like I said, more serious. You will experience high fevers, and that's 103 to 106. So you will know that you are sick. You have a headache and a stiff neck. And seizures. So those are the difference. We're talking a virus to something that's really more serious. But as John said, just be vigilant. Do not go outside after dusk. If you do, then wear protection, wear bug spray, wear long sleeves, and wear pants. Especially the elderly, young children, and babies. Especially if you have a baby and you want to go out for a walk in a carriage, just make sure they have the netting over them. So COVID cases are increasing, but that's to be expected. We're back at school, and people are back from traveling, summer travel. So there is a new vaccine that just came out last week. It is everyone who is 6 months and older is eligible. If you have had COVID recently, they're saying to wait 3 months until you get vaccinated again. If you've just had the vaccine last month, they want you to wait at least 2 months in between the 2 boosters. Last, we talked about pertussis or whooping cough last time. We've had 2 more cases last month. Whooping cough is spread by droplet transmission, so that means anyone who has the pertussis bacteria, when they sneeze or cough, it's going to enter the air. So please, make sure you cover your coughs and sneezes. And most cases that we have seen are kids in their teenage years, so the last required vaccine for whooping cough is in 7th grade. So if you do have someone, if you have a child or you're concerned about yourself, I would definitely say talk to your pediatrician or your doctor to see if you can get a booster. Boosters are offered, the Tdap, and especially new parents and grandparents for babies. I've had a conversation with all the nurses in our schools, so they do know what to look for and what to be aware of. We've also seen, this last summer, we've seen some dengue fever, which we haven't really seen, and none have originated here. They all came from, they originated through travel, but we have seen an increase in this just due to weather pattern changes, mild winters and lots of rain. The southern U.S., Central and South America, Asia and Africa have had the highest numbers of dengue fever in history. Symptoms, again, to look for are pain in the back, head, joint muscle pain, fevers and chills, and what is different is if you have a headache, it's pain mostly around your eyes or behind your eyes. So if you experience any of this, please go see your doctor. Things that are coming up, we have blood pressure clinics at the senior center every Wednesday. First Tuesday of the month, we also have a VNA consultant that will be at the senior center. We have a health fair coming up for the seniors, and that's October 21st from 10 to 1. We also have some flu clinics, that's at the senior center on September 25th, and Town Hall October 23rd, which we will also have free COVID testing at those times for anyone that wants to pick up a COVID test. And I think that's all. Yeah, that's it. Any questions?
Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep.
Very nice, thank you. And next we have John with his Public Health Director's report,
So
please.
I will rifle through it as best I can. Obviously, we have
It's a lot.
bunch of stuff from the last
Yep.
couple of months that I do want to just touch quickly on.
Sure.
So as far as our food establishments are concerned, so we did actually make strides in bringing 2 of our delinquent properties in town into compliance with both the Saugus grease trap regulation and the dumpster enclosure regulation. So at Stella's and Dumpling Garden, we spoke briefly before the summer regarding the prospect of installing a 2,000-gallon grease trap over there at 467 Main Street. So that has been completed at this point, and that kind of eliminates one of the, few remaining properties in town that don't have a grease trap, so we're happy to see that that was completed. Also, at the old Punjab Kasari restaurant, there's a new Indian restaurant opening called Atidi Indian Restaurant, and they've also made upgrades to their grease trap, as well as they're currently installing a dumpster enclosure down there, and we are expecting to see a decent fall off as far as the rodent complaints that we're getting down there, just because due to the brook being right there and the wetland and what have you, and the fact that there was just receptacles everywhere back there. So, they would go in and kind of leave it, not too good, you know what I mean? So, the fact that we're gonna be able to consolidate everything and bait the area in question, I think we're gonna see a steep drop off in the amount of rodent complaints we're getting from there. That being said, the restaurant itself has, the prospective owners have upgraded the entire facility. So they brought in all brand new equipment and, brand new facilities and what have you. So they've invested a good amount of money over there. So again, that property looks to be, in full compliance with the grease trap regulation as well, so we're happy to see that. There was a situation at the Raising Cane's construction site on Route 1. It's wedged between Wendy's and then the Orange Theory Plaza.
Oh, yeah,
there.
yeah.
So, or right next to it rather, where the new Foot Locker just opened up. So during their excavation process, they actually did rupture an underground oil tank. So there was a response from the DEP. We made sure that they reported. It was definitely more than 15 gallons, so we made sure that they reported it to the DEP. There was a release notification that went out, as well as an abatement measure that they completed. So it was consolidated to a little area, so it wasn't a widespread situation. But the DEP did sign off on it recently. We met briefly regarding the prospective Kowloon project. I mean, this is obviously still way down the road, but we did see some preliminary drawings as far as what the new site's going to look like, and it's really, it's keeping the old school aesthetic, which I really like, so we're interested to see, but there will be 2 restaurants on site that we're going to be looking to make sure we're regulating. Moving forward with housing and nuisance issues, so we're trying to crack down, obviously, with the West Nile and arborvirus situation. We're trying to crack down on the amount of abandoned pools that we're seeing around town. So we have received a number of complaints regarding, folks that just haven't pumped the water off their pools, or they're just not using them, or they're dilapidated, or what have you. So we have been visiting different areas of town just to kind of let folks know. It's like, listen, we have this situation here. It is a public nuisance, especially given the fact that, we're in a high-risk area. So we're letting everybody know, and we're sending out letters as we need to.
Perfect.
There's a prospective 40B project happening on Route 1 that is it's still in its preliminary phases as well. I mean, but we've met with the architects and taken a look at the prospective site, and we see it looks to be a, something that will bring our low-income housing up past the threshold of 10%, so we're really excited to see that start going. We had a fire on Hanson Street that displaced several tenants, so this particular property has had issues with the Board of Health and Inspectional Services in the past, so the utilities were shut off, and unfortunately that means we had to render the house uninhabitable until they've been turned back on. So we're kind of, I mean, the owner is kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place as far as, he has outstanding orders with our departments, and so now we're facilitating the cleanup of the property prior to letting the tenants move back.
And that was prior to the fire?
Yeah, so I mean,
Okay.
so it dates back to 2014, as far as the Inspectional Services Department is concerned. I was out there last year to talk about the condition of the property. It's a junk site, kind of, you know what I mean? So we're, making sure that, the cleanup is going as it needs to. I mean, he's got a lot of money in scrap there, so we're just trying to push him towards doing it, because it's just like, well, now you have displaced tenants, so what do we do now? You know what I mean? So we've been watching that closely. We did get a complaint about Chisholm's Motel and the amount of trash that was being just kind of strewn about over there. So we went down and spoke with the owners. I mean, it was good to the clientele what's at the actual, place itself. So we were trying to just make sure that the owners are policing it as best they can. We had an additional situation at 483 Central Street regarding rodents on the property line. Again, this is an old case that was opened back up just due to the fact that the bait boxes had been exhausted, you know what I mean? So they had to refill them, and we haven't had any complaints since, so hopefully that continues on. We did have a graffiti complaint at the old Amato's building.
Really?
So we spoke with the owner, Mr. Patel, and he did go down. So we're still working with him on this issue just due to the fact that he did cover the graffiti, but we're getting more complaints about the way he covered it up versus the actual graffiti itself. So, he went down to an old brick building and just scrolled white paint all over it. Now it looks even worse. So we're like, all right, let's get some, at least, he's gonna bring the building down anyway, so, we're gonna work with him on that, but for the time being,
Oh,
it's
that's
just like.
coming down.
Yeah, so they're looking to build a new liquor store right on the same footprint, supposedly, so we haven't seen any plans yet, so we're just waiting to see, but that's been the, kind of the excuse to not do anything down there. And we were seeing a lot of illegal dumping, so that's why there's a fence up now.
Okay.
So we've done a lot of work down there so far. That's all I really have for housing and nuisance. So as far as administrative stuff and miscellaneous stuff, we did, meet in August regarding the DEP regulatory air quality monitors. So we are currently in the, it's getting down to rubber meeting the road as far as what site we decide to choose, but I did meet with Sean regarding DCR's feedback, and so they don't have any problems with the actual vegetation cutback. It's going to be more of a question of whether or not the electrical infrastructure exists there. So it's looking so far as though the Ballard Street site, obviously you have the street right there, so it's not going to be a huge issue. I know that there was a couple of concerns raised regarding the floodplain of that brook that's right behind it.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see too much of an issue. I mean, when we were down there, I kind of took a look, and I mean, the water line only goes up so far. So I mean, unless there's some, mythical storm that's going to raise the height of it.
Plus, the monitor itself is raised
And
up,
it's going to be
right?
on a
It's-
concrete pad anyway.
Right.
So that
I
was
mean, I
something we
think-
brought up to the EPA.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah, but I think the question is going to be as to whether, and I'm waiting to hear back from Sean as far as what his electricians say. But it's going to be a question as to whether or not we want it closer to the road, or we want something that's kind of more, naturalized as far as the vegetation that's around it. So Bristow Street did look to be an attractive site,
Yeah.
given the fact, and again, you have, the power lines running right over it, and you kind of have more of a, an ambient area versus, dealing with truck exhaust and things like that.
It wasn't our first choice. as I
Right,
recall.
right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so that's something that I believe they're gonna be looking, so I'd like to have him at the next meeting if we could, just to kind of just go over some of the stuff we've been talking about. I know we've been meeting with him.
Has he been invited?
So we had a previous engagement for tonight, so I did mention that I'd like to see him at the next meeting. So
Okay.
we'll see if we can't get him on the agenda so we can just kind of talk about what we've talked about so far. And then, I'm not sure if the decision would be made at that meeting or if we would have to have like a public hearing on the decision that we would make. I'm not entirely sure, so it's something I'm gonna kind of yield to the DEP on as far as how we make the decision, but I'm sure that there's gonna be more community involvement as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, I think so.
As I mentioned, we did have 2 minor sales on the August 11th round of compliance checks, so we did set that meeting
Yep.
for next month. And just as far as the, so obviously September and October are big clinic, months for the department. And most recently, we had a situation with our vaccine fridge that it essentially, I don't want to say exploded, but it went, it went rogue on us. So, I mean, luckily, we didn't have any vaccine
I was
in
gonna say,
there.
you
Yeah,
didn't
we
lose
didn't,
it.
we didn't
Oh,
lose any
Jesus.
vaccine, which is good,
Okay.
but I'm currently quoting out some replacements, because the age of the vaccine is like, of the vaccine fridge rather, it'd probably be, it's more cost effective to buy a new one at this point,
Yeah, how big of a vaccine refrigerator do we have?
Currently, it looks to be a 12 cubic foot,
Wow.
so, those are the ones we're looking at. The current one that we have is probably twice that, it's bigger than my fridge at home, put it that way, so. We may not need something that big, it obviously, warranted it, and granted, it was there prior to when I got here, so I'm not
Yeah.
sure how long it's been here. I don't Lisa how long it's been here.
Do you have any numbers of how many people we usually vaccinate? Do you know, did you project, like when you order?
It was a couple of hundred last year.
That many?
Well,
Mostly seniors.
Seniors? And they
Yes.
come to the senior center? Okay. And is this state vaccine or do
No,
we buy?
No, we went through Walgreens last.
Who is it?
Walgreens.
Oh,
we contracted with.
Oh, you
Walgreens.
contracted with
Yeah.
Walgreens and you did the vaccines or Walgreens came out?
Well, Walgreens came out, yeah.
So
nice.
we're storing it though?
No, we didn't have any.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So why would
No,
we?
I get a, which it hasn't come in, but I get like a handful in case someone
Okay.
needs it.
Yeah, we try to have some on hand, just
Yeah.
for folks.
So then
that-
you wouldn't need a really big one?
No, and that's kind of, that's another thing. So, we already have a freezer, obviously you can't put a flu vaccine in the freezer or anything like that, but
No, but
given
some
the,
COVID.
given the size of this thing,
it's
just a clunky old
Yeah, no.
vaccine fridge that we don't
No,
really.
so if you
know.
don't, if you
And we already,
don't,
and we can harvest the equipment that's on it, like the temperature alarms and things like that, so
Yeah, that all
we
comes from the
could,
state.
we could salvage it, and reuse some of the stuff that's already attached to it, but I know that the state gives out,
They give
digital
out the-
thermometers
yeah.
that are loggable and stuff like that, so it's not a huge necessity, but I have been looking at laboratory grade stuff, just
They're
to
so
quote out.
expensive.
And
We
even
love
with
Wildly
COVID-
expensive.
Even with COVID, it was a fraction full.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
height of,
Yeah.
we were getting.
No, I think if you get a,
I must have been purchased with grant funding or something, because whoever bought it went for big air. The
Yeah.
thing is just gigantic, and, it was funny because we,
there might still be some COVID money out there.
there could be, I could certainly look
Yeah.
around.
Because we are, if you do get any state vaccine at all, we could talk about this
Yeah.
offline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't need to.
So, yeah, I just wanted to bring it
Yeah,
up.
no,
that we're
we can,
looking
we
at
can, we
getting a new
can, yeah,
fridge.
let's talk about this, not at a meeting, we don't
Yeah.
need to talk waste. But we might be able to figure out a way to get a small,
Right.
okay?
Great.
Go.
Can I ask a question, Joe?
Sure.
Yeah,
I don't know if this is my business or I'm late to the party.
Of course.
On Vine Street,
Mhm.
Pennybrook Gardens,
Mhm.
those townhouses out front,
Mhm.
I understood them to be on a toxic waste site because of Ludwig's.
Is that
Now they're being built.
71,
71 to 73.
Yeah.
So I believe that they got conditional approval based
From
off
who?
of some, from DEP, because I know that there was, I know that there was an RTN number associated
Yeah.
with that property. So I know that when I had first gotten here, it was, obviously, it had been so dilapidated.
Right.
So I'll have to actually check with the Inspectional Services Department, but to my understanding, there was a conditional approval based off of some type of cleanup that had to be.
They did a cleanup, they did a cleanup?
I believe so, you know what I mean, and so again, that wouldn't have been approved otherwise, so I'll have to check with
Yeah, I
the
was just-
inspections. I'll put it this way, when I first heard about it,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, you look at a property like that, it's like a perfect candidate for receivership, we were
Yeah.
looking into the idea of, fixing it anyway.
Right.
And then, for whatever reason, you know, it kind of fell off, and then a couple of years later, there's construction there. So
Yeah, you drive by and I
Yeah,
noticed
so we
it all
looked
the
into
time.
it a little bit, and, you know, I know that there was like an old laundromat there or something
Yeah,
like
it
that.
was, yeah, years
Yeah,
ago.
so, I mean,
This one, it is PC.
yeah, so I know that there was some type of contamination there at some point.
Dry cleaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, if I can
Yes, please.
say, someone asked me about it, so I went looking on the DEP website, and it looked like the last consultant report showed contamination. So I don't know if they got I've been planning on trying to get more information on it, because it seems like, yeah, they re-renovated, so they must have got some type of approval.
Done a
But the
ton of
last
work.
report came up with contamination, that some more work had to be done. That was my understanding from the report.
Yeah.
But I'll look into it. in more
Yeah, years
detail.
ago, I was on the affordable housing, and one of the things we looked at was brownfield type of accommodations for the property. So I wonder if they went that route,
Mhm.
or, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But that was something that was discussed
Right.
many years ago, about 14 or so years ago. That's a long, well, it was even longer than that, but it's been kicking around for a while.
Well, you know, it's funny because the apartments out back behind that, you know, I mean, there's another apartment complex back
Right.
there. And I visited it recently because of a complaint that we had for one reason or another. I think somebody was living in a tent out back or something. And that was my first question as well. I was like, oh, so I know that there was something in the works as far as a conditional approval is concerned, and it must have gone through or what have you. So it's something I'll probably have to research a little bit more as well.
So I don't remember any trucking being done there, take out soil or anything.
Yeah.
Good question.
It's a very good question.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll have to look into it.
we have some work to do.
There you go.
More work. All right. Thank you, John.
Mhm.
Been busy over the summer.
No, you know it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so does anybody have any sessions for topic not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of the meeting? Anybody?
No?
No? All set? All right.
And just as a general
General
update,
update,
so Founder's Day on
Oh, yeah.
Saturday. So we have 12 vendors coming. We're currently awaiting a couple of outstanding permits, but we're expecting 12 vendors to be there. And we're gonna be, on site on Saturday to do some inspections, and hopefully it's gonna be a beautiful day.
I hope so.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Sounds it.
All right, well, Founder's Day, very good. I think that's it. Like to, if nobody else has anything, I'd like to close the meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
Seconded by me, and we will reconvene for the 7th of October. Will be our next Board of Health meeting. Good night, everybody.
Beautiful.